to run back again. Yeah, because we've got no forward camp. And what we can do is we can set up forward camps. So instead of having to respawn back at our keep, if someone spent enough points, PvP points, they can get a camp, drop that camp near the enemy keep, and we can all respawn there until it's destroyed. I really do need to sort that out. There's a slight time delay when you move through doors, or gates, and sometimes if you tap and then you tap again, you go in and out. It's irritating. They should put something on there, just a delay of maybe a second would be nice. But maybe I just need to stop hammering the buttons. Right, do please let me know once the stream catches up with real time, if you can hear me properly and if everything's working okay now. Like I say, apologies about messing up the audio there for a little bit. Okay, we've got reinforcements coming in from Bleakers, which is there. So they're going to hit the majority of our guys in the rear, or at very least the flank. I am too far away to be of much use, so I'm going to have to get a giddy up. I'm just going to point myself in that general direction and just check the live stream. Bear with me. Right, where are we heading? Looks like our guys have held up well against that counterattack from Bleakers, so may very well have just been a small number of stragglers. Whoops, press the right run button. One of the interesting things is your horse can be fed at the stables, and doing so adds various bonuses like faster base run, so instead of a 15% run bonus, you have a 16% run bonus for using a horse. 1%, woohoo. But also things like more stamina, so that it can run for longer periods of time before its horse stamina bar drops down, which is the one on the right hand side, the blue one, underneath the larger one, which is my primary stamina bar. And I think an option that means that you're not knocked off your horse quite as easily when you're attacked, which obviously is going to be quite useful in certain situations. It's like being attacked in PvP, but my stamina's not doing too well today at all. Should be able to run for longer than this. Giddy up, horsey. Let's go. Right, this time I'm going to come in at a bit of an angle so I don't clip past the front of the gate. Got 3 reds on incoming. I'm going to see if I can intercept them from here. There they are. Actually, that's something else. That's a red and a yellow attacking each other. Fair dues. Done. Right, looks like we're inside the first set of gates, but unfortunately I've now been tagged as in combat, so I can't mount my horse. I'm just going to have to run in. Now, one thing with Realm v Realm, you do get boosted up to max level, so effectively my base stats are now all at 50 for level 50, but obviously I don't benefit from all of the skill points and so on. Usual stuff if you're used to PvP. Right. It's an interesting question. I wonder if I can set up a trebuchet on... No, because I'm in combat. Ow, ow, ow. Drop myself a few heals in. Found that when you're doing Realm v Realm, it's really, really useful to not only have kind of tanking powers for damage, but a self-heal as well. It makes a big difference. Come here, cheeky guy. In the Realm v Realm combat, PvP combat is really fast and furious in this game. It doesn't give you much let up at all. You'll have to constantly be changing your positions, etc. Can we drop? Yeah, I'm going to do this. Right, let's do this. Ah, someone beat me to it. Come on, come on, I want to get the shield up over it. There's various special shield powers as well that you can drop on. So I'm going to try and build this, and then I'm going to throw a shield up over the top of it. Ooh. And we'll start having a go at this door. So what this shield's doing is it's just absorbing some of the damage coming down from the top, from like oils and any weaponry and powers, siege equipment the enemy may have, or their own powers, allowing us to obviously put a bit more damage into this door. If we do well, and the healers are on the ball, they'll keep everybody alive who does take a bit of damage, and people will keep the shields up. Which, because obviously there's a cooldown, people need to kind of not put two shields up simultaneously, so there's always one in rotation, as it were. So we'll just have to see how we do here. Oh, god damn it. Again. I should have been paying a bit more attention there. Chance of me getting a respawn is nil, so we're on the run back again. This is the major issue with the game, really. It's the amount of running around, certainly in the PvP. I mean, partly, things are sorted later on in the game, whilst people can set up their camps and so on for quicker respawns close to the front. But then also, various travel powers, which I'm actually going to slot one up now, actually. Oops. Let's take out... we'll take that out, and we'll put in that one. You'll see why in a second. If I tap that, it gives me a run boost, then put my horse on. My horse now runs faster than its base would, and it can sprint much quicker as well. I think it has slightly more sprint than it would do normally. It's a really good combination. It's a little bit annoying, every 20 seconds having to kind of tap this on, but it does speed things up a bit. Means you can keep up with the Zerg if it's got a bit ahead of you, or help to pick up some stragglers and drag them along if they're only running. So we'll tap it again. Off we go again. Another stamina boost, run boost, etc. Like I say, you lose about a second dropping off your horse, but I think overall the benefit is worth it. Do please let me know if you can't hear me properly. We did have a few glitches with the audio. I've hopefully sorted that out now. Actually, do let me know if you want the game audio a little bit higher as well, because to me it does sound slightly on the low side, but at least you can hear me. Just tweak that up a little tiny bit, actually. It would be nice to hear the clash of swords. Hopefully that's okay. Yeah, it's a little bit better. And the great thing with this power is it applies to anybody who is around you. So, like I say, if you're picking up stragglers, or if you want the Zerg to move very, very quickly between points, you can, buff everybody up with a run boost, and, hopefully move faster than the enemy may have calculated, giving you something of an advantage. And the whole game is very strategic when played well. If you've got a good team, good commander, etc., running the raid, and giving instructions, etc., then things do work really, really nicely. And even smaller groups can easily, best a much bigger Zerg just by using superior tactics, knowledge of the landscape, etc., around that particular keep, and so on. Another important aspect is obviously scouts as well. One thing that people often forget to do is to send people ahead of the Zerg to find out what's lying in wait for them. But a couple of scouts out there giving you some intelligence, what's going on the battlefield, where the enemy Zergs are moving or look like they're moving to. And you can then pick and choose your targets much more easily. Now, the one thing you don't really want to do is end up in a very long attack siege, where you're having to attack for an hour at a time to try and crack a keep. Defending, that's something you do want. You want to be defending for as long as possible, but on attack you really just want to blitz down the enemy keep as quickly as you can, get it captured, and then obviously turn it into a defensive point as you move forward. Alright guys, let's get in there. You see that buff is now applied to everyone who's around me. including people who aren't actually in my raid, which is nice. So like I say, you can drive hundreds of players forward really quickly using that power. We haven't made much progress on that gate either, which is a pity. Let's just see if I can get my stone trap in play now. Yeah, good. Let's see how the gate's doing. Oh, it's nearly down, I'm not going to bother. Why waste my trap? By the time I put it down, it'll be taken back up again. I am going to try. 1 second. Oh, not again. Right, and we're running back again. Hooray. God. Note to self, don't try and change your powers in the middle of a fight. Not this bug again. Ah, yay, right. I think I've got a bug. Let me just see if I can confirm it. Normally if this happens I can't walk through that. Okay, that's strange. I have this weird bug where you sometimes can't exit a keep. And the waystone becomes kind of God-moded, so you can walk straight through it. Look at this. Won't let me out the flipping keep. That is just a lovely typical bug. This is the kind of stuff we're suffering from quite a bit, and the only way out is through that flipping door, if memory serves. There's no other door. Hang on, let me just double check this. There's another one there. Let's see if I can get out that one. Nope. Apparently, I'm stuck. Right. Why the door has seemingly stopped working, I have no idea. My horse also is not working. I wonder if it thinks I'm in combat or something, but that shouldn't make any difference. You cannot mount in this location. Where does it think I am? Can't use any gates. That is weird. Right, I'm just going to log out and back in. It's usually the best way to fix this particular bug. I'll be back in 1 second. Oh, there it goes. Finally going in. Cyrodiil seems to be a very heavy load. Sometimes it will load fine, other times it really stalls out. So I'm just hoping it will actually load this time. I think I got a desync there, where basically the game server just isn't sure where the hell I am. When it's loaded after that death. Yep, game client's crashed, by the looks of it. We see this a little bit too often, unfortunately, with Elder Scrolls at the moment, especially in the Realm v Realm area, Cyrodiil, where effectively the game attempts to load and you never get to the world. You just sit here at this screen. So, excuse me for 1 second, guys. The stream is going to go blank. I'm still here, but the game footage isn't going to load. I'm going to have to reload the game, basically, to get around this problem. It's a real pain, but it's something that we're just having to kind of put up with at the moment until they work out what exactly is causing it. If you give me 2 seconds, I'm going to reload the game and the picture will be back. Get to see the lovely boot screen, which is far, far too many logos and the like. Just think of a way I'm going to deal with this. Hang on. I'm just going to put a blank shot in for a second while I put my password. There we go. You'll excuse me for not wanting to show you the password length or anything like that. You know, security is all important, as it were. Now, hopefully, we will get to log in this time. But we will see. Do let me know on in the comments if you can't hear me properly, or if there's any problems with the live stream at all, other than the game crashing anyway. Like I say, these problems with the game crashing at the loading screen have been there since launch and don't seem to be getting any better. It does mean sometimes, unfortunately, you sit here staring at this screen 3 or 4 goes in a row, and eventually you'll get in. There we go. Right, and as you can see, it's placed me back there. So I do think I had a desync there. At least I'm still in the team. There we go, much better. If you're interested in checking this game out on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, I think it's out towards the end of April. Maybe a little bit sooner actually, as it could be next Friday. But overall, hopefully the console versions of the game will have ironed out some of the bugs that we're seeing here. But don't bank on it. It'll be very interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, those consoles are just PCs, and so much of this game client is running on the server side that when we get problems like desyncs, when we get problems like the game stalling or crashing at the loading screen, where it just never loads the world, those are very much server-related issues, I believe. Funnily enough, over the last few days, the number of times I've actually seen that problem with the loading screen has actually diminished. I was thinking yesterday, oh, maybe they fixed that problem, but maybe not. But it did seem to be quite a bit improved yesterday. But certainly, I mean, it's going to be an interesting one to see how this game runs on the consoles. Certainly on the Xbox One, and what compromises might have to have been made there. I don't expect to see this game running at 1080p 60 on either machine. I think on PlayStation 4 it will go 1080 30, and I think on the Xbox One it's probably going to be sub 900. I would have thought, just because the amount of textures, detail in the world and so on, what we've seen with the Xbox One, it struggles really to push high quality textures and maintain a stable frame rate, and this game has a lot of particle effects going on as well, so it's going to be really interesting to see how those two consoles stack up. On the PC you're seeing this running at pretty much everything maxed out. The only things I have turned down are blur, or turned off I think is blur. No, sorry, depth of field is turned off, because it just makes the image actually look blurry, not depthy. So the depth of field, in my opinion, isn't working particularly well at the moment, but because the game is locked in full screen mode, in windowed full screen mode rather than true full screen, a lot of the things that will be driven by the actual graphics card settings, so your Windows settings for the graphics card, aren't actually working at the moment, and neither is SLI. So, you know, or Crossfire as well. The ability to run 2 graphics cards effectively to split the workload, those aren't working currently. So gameplay-wise or graphics-wise, you are seeing, you know, this game looking pretty hot. The only things I don't have on is depth of field and shadows. Both you pay a big penalty for performance-wise on PC, and you know they're just generally not worth it. You know, what do the shadows actually add? Not a lot. You pay a 15% cost on average for those, and same again with depth of field. If all it's doing is making the image look blurry, not kind of adding that depth that you're looking for, then you might as well just turn the thing off rather than paying the cost for it. Now, because I'm live streaming, the whole process here locks down to 30 frames a second, so you will notice some frame rate glitching, as it were, while we're doing this. In part, it's obviously because there's a lot more action going on screen, particle effects and so on, but also because obviously I'm having to render this in real time and actually send it to YouTube, and you do pay a bit of a cost for that. You'll see that really in the other players moving around, that instead of sort of seeing, you know, all 60 frames a second of animation, you're kind of seeing a reduction there. They probably look like they're hopping along a little bit more than you might be normally used to. I am streaming at 1080p. If I drop the stream to 720, things would improve a little bit, but you know, I don't find it a massive problem. It doesn't stop me playing particularly, put it that way. one thing to kind of note, as it were, is obviously when you're doing Realm v Realm stuff and you've got hundreds of players and particle effects and everything else going off, you know, your frame rate does take a bit of a hit, and you know, for that particular part of the gameplay, if you're doing that, you may want to turn your graphics down. During Realm v Realm, it's not something I worry about on this particular rig. I tend to maintain a solid 60 frames a second or above in single player content, and in dungeons, and in the Realm v Realm it drops down to about 45 frames a second at worst usually. I have to say, very well optimised engine they've gone with this time. I mean, Hero Engine, which this is based on, is a kind of off-the-shelf massive multiplayer game engine that developers can buy to kind of speed up development on their game. They don't have to worry about a lot of the kind of background work that goes into building a game engine. They can just get on and create the content, and obviously tune it to their liking. It's working very well here. We've had it running on some low-end machines, high-end machines, and so on. And you know, obviously there's some compromises to be made in the graphics quality for the lower end, but ultimately the game plays fine even in Realm v Realm. And oh, this is nasty. I'm going to get killed again. Come on, need some mana or magic. Cute. We seem to be having trouble getting through the door at the moment, and this is often a problem if you've got a fairly small raid group and a few defenders in there. As you can see, the things with red shields above the head are enemy players. The red markers that are just health bars, they are NPC guards. So we've got to just try and clear our way through if we can. There's 2 flags we need to capture in there. Just got to try and find a way in, but I think we're losing a few too many people here. I'm wondering about dropping a treb down and just lobbing some treb bolts in there. Trebs. Right, let's go for that. Come on. Right. That's not quite so helpful. I think I'd rank that as a really crap place to put a treb, actually. I think I need to bail out of this. Pack it back up and move. Come on. Go. Let's just get out of there. As you can see, I couldn't actually see an angle that would allow me to hit those guys in there, so I pulled back a bit and oops. Try again for a slightly different position. I want one that's forward of this, but not too far forward. He's kind of taken the prime position here, I think. Try from over there. The hell with it. Let's just get in there. Or not. That shield just gives us a little bit of damage reduction as players are trying to get in there. We've got 2 people in on the side, 3 people in on the side. I'm going to go for it. If I die, I die. If we can just create a little beachhead. Throw some heals out. Just maybe I can help buff us off a tiny bit. Grab a beachhead. That's a good plan. Ooh, nasty. Yep, they got us. You can see how even if you've got strength of numbers, you may not still have enough power to be able to kind of crack your way through the keep. Certainly not if the defenders are moderately well organised. If they've managed to throw down some siege equipment of their own to kind of force you back. You need, obviously, weight of numbers so you can afford to lose maybe half your strength and still get into the keep. One thing I have to say is the Realm v Realm works so much better than Warhammer Online. If you remember that game, the Realm v Realm looked like it was going to be really cool in that game, and it kind of just fell apart in the end. Mostly, I think, because of the way the knockback powers worked. It really screwed the game up, if you ask me. But it was really fun. That was the strange thing about it. But it didn't have that longevity. I think this has a bit more going for it that's going to keep people interested. If nothing else, the massive world size. Alex, so if you're thinking of buying ESO, it's a tricky one. Is it worth the $15 a month? That we will actually only know really when we kind of see what the next content push is. What I would say is, I think what I've been playing for just over a week, I'm at level 20. The first 10 levels of content are crap, basically. They are really badly done. It makes it almost feel like a grind, but stick with it, because once you hit like level 11, and in 11 to 20 and the 20 to 23 content I've seen so far, things get much, much, much better. The problem with the early content is it kind of just drags out. I mean, that's partly in the Elder Scrolls style, because, you know, Elder Scrolls games, if you've achieved anything in the first 6 hours other than walking around and getting some armor, you know, it's a miracle. This game kind of follows that same thing, and in part it's because I think the developers reworked the starting zone, level 1 to 10 from what I can tell, just before launch, and I just don't think they had enough time. It feels sparse. You know, there's a whole, in my opinion, 2-hour stretch that I played where I don't think I killed more than 3 things. But like I say, stick with it. Certainly the content I've been playing at level 20 in the kind of single player aspect, as it were. Well, you know what I mean. You know, the not open world v world stuff, the quests and missions. It's getting much better. The content is becoming more dynamic. The dungeons are, you know, fun. I mean, really fun. You would never think just 4 players in a dungeon would be fun. But the way the dynamic holds together with such large numbers of mobs, it's really good fun. Really, really good fun. You know, you have to have your wits about you, especially if you're playing a tank as I do, or as a healer. But tanking especially now, it feels like something where you really have to have a bit of skill at it, because you have so few powers, because everything's positional with templates and so on. More so than World of Warcraft or some of the other games. It just works. It works really, really nicely. You don't quite get that feel necessarily from the first 3 dungeons you'll do. You see little sort of flashes of that element going on, certainly in the Banished Cells, which is one of the I think the funner dungeons really at level 12. But then as you kind of progress through and you hit the next set of dungeons at level 20, those really start to show, I think, what this game is capable of. I think the early reviews that I've seen of the game, and this also based on my first impressions as well, was that this thing was going to be a turkey and, you know, it's just going to fall apart. Actually, once you get into the game, it really drags you in, and there's enough here to keep you playing. Like I say, how much content is there to kind of keep you going after the first 30 days? Don't know yet. The World v World stuff, though, if they're able to keep adding to this, I think that could in itself be a reason to actually pay the subscription. It's really good fun. They are planning a pretty good content push, including a new level 50 content zone, which for all intents and purposes, from what I can tell, kind of takes on this open raiding, is maybe how I would try and describe it, where you can have 12-man raid teams, and those 12-man... Yeah, get away from my trebuchet. You swine. Did you see that? He just burnt me trebuchet to the ground. I'm going to kill you. Get here. That's something, by the way, you can do. The enemy can burn your trebuchets, and obviously in doing so, really, really irritate you, because that was 1200 PvP points I think I just lost there in the space of 4 seconds. But we're now into the keep. So, first flag's down. What we're looking for here is a marker which will tell us how captured the flag is. It's all the way up. And then we go on to the next one. Once we've captured both of these, we'll then own the fort, and we can then defend it. But I think we'll probably just push on to the next area, I would have thought. Next keep, and try and crack that one. Yeah, this level 50 content area, the idea appears to be that you'll have like 4-man story and 12-man story. And effectively, it's like a story that rages across this level 50 zone area. It looks like there's new dungeons and stuff there as well. But the whole kind of idea is not just having a raid, but having a raid that kind of travels places under its own steam. I kind of like that idea. One of the things that I keep thinking with World of Warcraft is the way the raiding kind of setup works there. It's more a case of, you know, hit looking for group button, go raid through, and really they're just kind of mini adventures strung together in some respects, obviously with big set pieces and bosses, but the immersion into the world is lost because, well, you're just simply auto-joining and jumping around in between these kind of loading levels. Your connection to the world is lost in many respects because of that kind of user-friendly game mechanic of being able to quickly group up, etc., to do these raids. But the one thing with Elder Scrolls is everything's quite old school here. You know, there is no auction house as such. A lot more trading has to go on with people arranging, bartering, arranging to trade. You do have the guild stores, which act as a kind of auction house. You can join 5 guilds. From those guilds, you can then list anything you want to sell on the guild store. Other guildies can buy those items, or if your guild has captured a keep, the quartermaster there will open up a guild store so that any player on your faction can buy from your guild store. And that's a really cool mechanic. It means that you do tend to kind of go out seeking out certain guilds because you know that they're going to have some pretty cool gear, especially if they're obviously been, doing well and raiding ahead of people, etc. And you're going to want to go and check that out. It works nicely, and you can actually make a reasonable amount of money. I've made about 8,000 gold by selling stuff on the auction houses, well, the guild stores, as it were. You'd think that, it would be quite a limited game mechanic with the way it works, but actually it works really nicely. I was surprised. I was actually a bit gobsmacked, actually, because I really thought it was going to be ridiculous. No auction house, how's anyone going to make any money? Well, actually, the community kind of aspect takes over again. If you remember, a lot of MMOs in the early days, they didn't have auction houses, or if they did, they were usually broken for the first month. And so the player base kind of had to just find its own way. Here, that social aspect of buying and selling is kind of at the forefront. That's the primary way the game wants you to interact with people, not just a case of searching and clicking a few buttons and tooling up or twinking up with gear, as it were. Now, talk to people. Find and negotiate the right deal, as opposed to, making it dead easy for you. In some respects I like that, in some respects I don't, but ultimately I think there's just enough choice there to kind of play it your way. You can seek out those guild stores if you want to, which obviously plays into the exploration of Elder Scrolls, or barter. There's always people selling in the zone channels, etc. Usually I've noticed the main thing seems to be selling complete sets. So as you go through the content, you'll find like 3-part sets of armor, which then give you a bonus if you have all 3 sets. And people like 3 pieces, and people like to sell the complete set. Well, why not? You're going to get better value for money if you're a buyer, and as a seller, you're getting a larger chunk of cash. So far, I think the armor sets and so on that I've seen look really cool. I can't remember what race I am. It's a lizard dude anyway. But the way that kind of works with the armor, how cool you kind of look. At the moment I look like a bit of a Praetorian Guard kind of style going on, a little bit of a Roman Legionnaire sort of stuff. And it just looks really, really nice. Do you know what I mean? Sure, I'm sure once I get into the level 50 content, the armor sets there will look even better. But at least I feel kind of cool running around, which is something I didn't really get during the first 10 levels of the game, unfortunately. I found that the game just didn't really make me feel invested in the character when I'm playing. Now, I actually do feel like I'm much more invested into the character, that the story progression I've gone through, the skill sets and so on that I've acquired, and the armor make me actually feel like I care now. And, sometimes you get that with games where you kind of care from the word go because of the way it's made you feel like a hero. And in other games, it kind of takes a while before you get that kind of connection to... wrong power. Before you kind of get that connection to your player, to your character. Now, do let me know in the live stream comments if you have any questions, if there's anything you'd like me to specifically take a look at, or if there's any problems with the live stream at all, if you can't hear me or anything like that. I'm just going to throw a bubble up. Whoa, what was that? That was new. Must be that weird blue stuff. Right, let's throw some shields up. If I want to run boost so they can move out of templates quicker as well. Just while I'm under the shield, just check live stream. So do also please share the live stream with your friends. Let other people know that we're live streaming Elder Scrolls Online. It's a great opportunity to take a look at the game if you're thinking of buying it on PC, Xbox One or PlayStation 4. The console edition of the game I think is launching next week, or the week after. Whatever that thing that's blowing us up into the sky is, A, cool, B, annoying. But would like to know who's doing it so I can get me some of that. I think it must be a mage power. Yeah, it is. There he is. Right then. That's such a gnarly power. Love it. Let's see if a shield makes any difference. Still got one tread, but I'm out of position really to use it properly, so I think instead I'm just going to hang back here and wait for this gate to fall. A bit of a wuss. I've died that many times this morning doing Realm v Realm due to not paying attention. I'm a little reluctant to just go charging in. You see the way the animations work as well, they're really quite sweet. They're done in sort of quite a nice ragdoll style, but obviously they're pre-baked. But it just kind of looks really nice, especially when you take a knockback or something and you go flailing into the air. Really nicely done. You should be able to see as well the texture quality, even in Realm v Realm, it's actually exceptional. Normally in open world games we tend to expect a small drop in texture quality and so on to help when the game's got a lot of players on screen, but this is just a wonderfully detailed world. In some respects almost too detailed if you look at these individual blades of grass, etc. and so on, and obviously the density of that foliage. It is fairly hardcore for an MMO. Normally it would be thinned out quite considerably. Obviously I've got graphics detail turned up to full, which makes a bit of a difference, but yeah, quite interesting. How long does this gate go though? Oh, excuse me. In a few seconds we'll have this one. Is this right, yeah, we're at Breakers. Is it Breakers? Sorry. Bleakers, which is a small kind of intermediate fort. Just a good defensive choke point really. But if you want to be able to progress on to take out the keep, then this one has to go down first. Everything operates in a chain, so you can't just hop round one defensive position or a keep to attack one behind it. They have to go down in order. Otherwise you'll turn up and you will simply be dead. Ah, like that. Every time. I do wish someone would throw out a camp so we could respawn a little bit closer. It would be really handy right now. See that there's a lot more players online now than we had earlier on. Things are really hotting up now. Do please hit the like button and do subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And of course do leave us a comment if there's something particularly you'd like us to take a look at. I think I'm going to jump out of this soon and go and do a dungeon because they're always good fun. Yeah, let's do that actually. Just make this easy on myself. I need to just go back to the keep actually and travel to what's known as the Waystone. That's our quick travel system in Elder Scrolls Online. You can't really just, well, in the Realm v Realm area you can't just use the travel stone from your map to move around. That's meant to be let me through. Okay, let's go around. You can't really just fast travel from the map, it won't let you. So you have to travel back to the starting area of Realm v Realm, then use the Waystone there, and then you can move back to the single, well, back to the normal content, as it were, the non-PvP content, which I keep trying to call single player. Because, most of the time people don't group up other than for the dungeons. Which I think is silly, because you get a 10% XP bonus when grouped up, so it kind of makes sense to group up with at least one other person. Potentially a few more for clearing through content. So, anyway, so this is a Trastia Stone, whatever they're called. Just need to move back, then go to the Waystone, then we can move back to the normal content and find a dungeon. One thing they could do with improving in this game is how high you can jump, because it does mean that there's some really bizarre situations where apparently you can't jump over something because the wall's too high, even though it's barely chest height. So it would be nice if they fixed that. Anyway, what we need to do is just, actually, I'm going to do this slightly differently because I'm going to try just save myself some cash. Here's a handy tip for you. If you can get yourself into a party and that party has already travelled to the dungeon, you can then fast travel to the person, or one of the people in the party. Let's try Elden Hollow because I haven't done that one yet. This will now start the group tool. I'm on damage and tank, and that's got us 2 people already. Just find out where they are. So, up there. Oh, do you know, I haven't been up there. I'm currently moving my way into this chunk of content here and around here. So I'm wondering if Rivenspire has some more content for my level. I might have to have a look up there later. Now, let me just check and see whether we need a healer or not. Probably, yeah. See what I mean? It's always healers and it's always tanks that you need. If only you could be both simultaneously. Right, mail, because when you're doing PvP, as you acquire the PvP points, I think it's roughly for every 1,000 or 1,500 PvP points you get, the Emperor or King dude, he sends you some equipment. And it's always something for your level, but it's rarely anything useful. 2 daggers simultaneously. Great, guys. Devs need to do something to fix that. It keeps happening time and time again. Yesterday, I think I got 4 swords in a row. Couldn't there be some kind of bias set in the system so that if you get a sword once, you have a lower chance of getting the sword again on the next hit, and so on? It would just be kind of useful, because otherwise you end up with a lot of equipment for PvP. It's just useless. Those are rogue daggers, basically. No good to me. So anyway, we're still waiting for a healer. Dagnabbit. What I might do is I might quit this group actually and try and see if I can join one that's already got a... No, don't do that. Leave group. So it does have a dungeon finder, but it doesn't have a range finder. Oh, sorry. But you can do the obviously the 24-man stuff in there as well. Oh, it does have a raid finder then when you think about it. But anyway. Let's see if we can find somebody. Yeah. Complete lack of healers in this game. It's quite remarkable. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to jump back to the main world now. Might as well. This is the new area I've just got to. Bangkore. That's how you pronounce it. Hi Alex, yeah, everything feels pretty well balanced. My tip, if you're going to buy the game, have a look on CD key sites. You'll pick it up for about 25 quid, which is where I got mine from. As opposed to if you go to game or order it from a lot of the online stores, it's sort of clocking in between 27 and I think Game want 49 quid for it in store or something crazy. But yeah, if you go to the CD key sites, you can pick it up for about 25 quid. And obviously you're saving a fair bit of money doing that, and you'll obviously get your key instantly, and then you can start playing instantly. It'll take you, depending on internet connection, a couple of hours to get the patch files downloaded for the game and everything. If you have a fast connection, it can be down in under an hour, but it is a chunky game. So yeah, if you're on a slow connection, it's one of those ones where set the patcher running and go out. It's probably the best thing. I'll go and do something because it's not going to be installing any time quickly. Unfortunately, it's not a game that so far at least has a quick start option in there, quick play, so it downloads just the files to get you playing through the starting area. None of that here. Very old school. Have to wait for the whole patch to download. Ah, hooray, here we go. Oops, I'm already in group. And yeah, the factions are pretty well balanced, and so far at least, I've not really noticed a problem with what you would call, one side having too many more players than the other. In part it's because we use Mega Server. So rather than having lots of different individual servers like World of Warcraft has, there is just one server for the US and one server for the EU. And hundreds of thousands of players, I think it's 100,000 players is able to play in what they call the primary shard. If 100,000 players are all on the server at once, 100,001 player plus go into an overflow server where they can still play and level up and everything like that, but certain elements are disabled, like mail and things like that. But so far I have to say, generally speaking, not had a lot of problems with, you know, getting into games and so on. There's like a bit of a delay in finding healers at the moment, but get there in the end kind of thing. But yeah, it doesn't feel particularly, you know, unbalanced or anything like that. So that guy is just loading into the dungeon, I think. Just wait for him to load. Hopefully we can then move across that dungeon, save me some cash. Yep, cool. So what you can do is if you go travel to player at this point, rather than me having to spend gold to go to the dungeon, I can travel to the guy and it doesn't cost me anything, which is quite nice. If you use that judiciously with a couple of players in your team, you can move around the world map quite easily. It doesn't cost you anything, which I quite like. So this is the Wayrest sewers. This is level 20 sewer. Level 20 sewer? Level 20 dungeon. And it's quite tricky. Lots of rats, lots of players. Lots of enemy NPCs, and a fairly tricky time, I thought, for a tank at level 20. Although I wasn't convinced my healer was particularly good on the first run through. I need to swap powers out at this point because most of these are wholly unsuitable for tanking. In fact, they all are. That, that on there, and shield, and shield charge. You notice that the big problem you always have, you've only got 5 primary powers and your ultimate power, your uber power, and so you do have to choose quite carefully what you're going to be taking into a fight. In this case, I've gone for a bit of a mix. Some of my powers that you draw on magic, some of my powers that draw on stamina. My stamina powers are generally my tanky powers, as well as obviously a power derived from my heavy armour, which is immovable too. As you use powers, they gain experience themselves and they can then level up themselves as well. I'm just going to go dive straight into this guy, this rat thing. Important thing, as with any dungeon game, or game with dungeons in it, you're going to want to use the team dynamic of tank, healer and damage dealers. The reason for doing that is damage dealers generally are very squishy, don't have great armour, but put out a lot of damage. The tank effectively has to take the brunt of all the hits, and so what I'm trying to do is annoy all of the mobs I can to get them to focus on me and avoid going after either the healer or the damage dealers, the DPS, which stands for damage per second. And the idea there really is you want to be able to put out as much damage as possible, hopefully, so that the amount of damage on the tank is kept to an actual minimum, because, you know, over 30 seconds or so, the number of mobs currently in contact with the tank is decreased because they're dying really quickly, or, as in some cases, off-tanking, where someone will actually pull one of the mobs off you and, you know, deal with it there for you, so you don't have to. All these little things help. Crocagator. So what I'm doing is I'm taunting that crocodile, so it focuses on me, and it'll focus on me for 15 seconds, or I believe until somebody kind of, oh god, did you screw then? Yeah, I did screw up. You've got to watch the templates dropping down on the floor. If you don't, then you get a sudden big burst of damage, too many of those in a short space of time, and the healer just isn't going to be able to cope. So that's a slight problem with you know, tanking and talking simultaneously, but anyway. When you die, you can only be resurrected through soul stones. Those soul stones are not something that is a player castable item in the sense of a resurrection that you might be used to in World of Warcraft or something like that. It's like a stone basically that's charged up when you kill, I think, humanoid, anything with a soul basically, so I believe a humanoid player, enemy NPCs, and also PvP players as well. And it's a one-use item, so you fill the gem and you can use it to resurrect. You can't resurrect during a boss fight, but you can resurrect during, you know, non-boss combat, as it were. The soul gem is then destroyed, and so your ability to resurrect is very limited in this game, but anybody can resurrect. And they can resurrect each other as well. So if one of my players died, I could run over to him and in combat use one of my soul gems to resurrect him. Again, you've only got 4 players and you're going to need all of them usually for a lot of these bosses. This is one boss, he's called Slimeclaw, and we're going to just throw out a stack of damage on him. You see, I was not paying attention on that template. I need to pay a lot more attention really. Because I'm a tank, blocking is pretty much my most important skill. And obviously being able to being able to hold enough stamina so that I can block, because the problem is if you're blocking you use stamina, which is my blue bar on the right hand side. The issue there is if you don't have any stamina and you need to block, you can't, and you will take pretty much the full brunt of the hit, I think. So there's an awful lot for tanks to think about, more so I think in World of Warcraft, where your main problem in World of Warcraft was you had a lot of powers to think about. Here you have very few powers, but you've got a lot of situational awareness to deal with, as well as kind of juggling all of your resource bars as well. Right. Healer, right first, don't go down there. Pull back, I'm going to try and use some cone damage basically. One of my powers does cone damage. The idea there is I'm just running between all these guys, building up some aggro. And most of them are going to focus on me. Throw my shield on, and we'll just keep putting out the damage whilst trying to avoid enemy templates on the floor. This little part of the dungeon is quite difficult actually, because as you can see it's quite a small space, and it only takes a couple of templates and you've pretty much covered the whole thing in incoming damage. So there we go, nice and dirty, but it got the job done. You see, it's really fast and furious combat. There's none of this kind of standing around lark going on, just attracting the mobs to you. Everyone has to be moving all the time. Right, we've got clear left here, and I think there was a healer somewhere in here last time, I thought. Sawbones, yeah, there. Sawbones down first. Healers go down first, basically, because, for obvious reasons, they can heal the hardest thing that you're trying to kill. Keep my healer off aggro as well, or out of aggro. One thing I've noticed in this game is healers do attract an awful lot of aggro, even with some of their weaker heals. Certainly when I was doing some healing through the level 15 content, I noticed the amount of aggro that healers would drag was just ridiculous actually. It would only take even the most passive of like a heal over time, which normally in most games wouldn't really worry a mob too much to come and attack you. In this, wow, they really don't like it. It's boss time. Let me think, I've just got to try and remember how this one does its thing, but I can't remember, so we'll just go for template avoidance. Pretty sure that's all he's got. Oh yeah, I remember. He's got a circle that chases me. Basically, as I aggro this guy, he's going to throw a moving template that will chase me around the dungeon. If you stay in it for any longer than a couple of seconds, it will kill you. It's as simple as that. Guard. And now we've got some ads coming in, some shades. It'll be quite annoying, because obviously you've still got that template roaming around the dungeon. And now you've got to deal with some NPCs as well. I really need to keep this guy's aggro on me. I think it's time to go Uber. Come on. Not charged. Damn. Ooh. Where's he gone? What's that? Got him. Now, during the, or at the end of the boss fight, when you get your loot from the boss, you tend to get soul gems as well, which obviously saves you money and hassle, and obviously comes in very, very handy. Art of Madness. I haven't seen this book yet. I don't think. Who knew there was an art to madness? Anyway, do let me know in the comments if you have any questions, if there's anything particularly you'd like me to show you or to talk about. And do please like and subscribe. Now, last time I came around one of these corridors, I got ambushed, so somewhat dubious. Definitely down one of these, there was an ambush waiting for us. Right. I hate rats. So there's a big boss stood up at the top of there, well, or a minor boss over there, but he hits hard, and if you end up aggroing, oh god, like that, then he really does make things considerably more difficult. You've got to, oh god, because he gets into the middle of you all and just starts spinning round and round. Oof. You see that block then? That's when you get it right, when they kind of go for those really big attacks, and you manage to block it, you save yourself from taking a ridiculous amount of damage. Come on. What I'm going to have to try and do now is try and just keep my stamina up for a bit. One hit. That's the only problem with him. Well, I was trying to just tap on some stamina there, so that I had a bit more blocking potential, but just timed it wrong. And as you can see, I can't res myself during a boss fight. I'll have to wait for somebody else to come over and do it for me if they've got a soul gem ready. But as you can see, even with the tank down, people are able to kind of just manage the aggro enough, swapping it in and out between them to get the kill down. The game is fairly forgiving. I've seen just two people, you know, a healer and a DPS, after the other two people died, you know, managed to take out a boss that was still at sort of 2/3 its health. Took a while, like, but it was doable. Do hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and do please let me know in the comments if there's anything in particular you'd like to take a look at. Now then, which way was the way through here? Right, now this boss type dude don't activate until we jump down, so we've got a little bit of time. So let's go for it. See what happens when you don't heal, you don't block. You just take a ridiculous amount of damage. I get this guy's aggro. I had this problem last time. Yeah, he really doesn't like to stay aggro to the tank particularly, even when you're taunting. Oh, that hurt a lot. I think the blocking and dodging mechanics in this actually work really nicely. Better than in some other games. Was it Rift? Rift had that mechanic, and also Terra as well had a kind of dodging mechanic, but here it works. Do you know what I keep getting this vibe from Elder Scrolls, right? So it doesn't quite so much feel like an Elder Scrolls game as Dungeons and Dragons done right. That might seem really strange, but if you remember the MMO Dungeons and Dragons, or if you ever played kind of any of the games or what have you, the kind of mechanics here feel kind of similar to that, what you'd expect from a Dungeons and Dragons title. And obviously Elder Scrolls is inspired by Dungeons and Dragons, as are many other games. But it struck me that that's kind of, if you were to call this Dungeons and Dragons, I'd buy that as well. Do you know what I mean? Just because it's Elder Scrolls doesn't necessarily mean it suits its name quite so readily. Like I say, you could call this Dungeons and Dragons, and I don't think anyone would grumble particularly. What makes an Elder Scrolls game or a Dungeons and Dragons? Pfft, who knows these days? At the end of the day, it's high fantasy of sorts. But anyway. Elder Scrolls, a better Dungeons and Dragons. You can stick that on the box art if you like for the PlayStation 4 version of the game. Okay. Who doesn't like killing people from behind? Nothing better. I guess a big cone in here. This is my uber power, and what that basically does is knocks everybody down, knocks all the enemy players, enemy NPCs down, and then does dot on the damage over time. So it's a great way to obviously buy yourselves a bit of time if there's a lot of enemies on the group, but also it causes a nice amount of threat as well, from what I can tell. So in a pinch like that, I can just use it just to really boost up the amount of damage output I've got on. This is going to suck because I've just fired all my powers incorrectly. Just do it. Totally screwed that up. Never mind. Oh. It was in there, wasn't it? Yes, got it, right. So also, if you, as with most Elder Scrolls, well, all Elder Scrolls games, looting everything you see usually yields some interesting results. A lot of the crafting materials that you need you will find hidden in crates and boxes and the like. Yeah, that guy's got a cool power. The thing I quite liked about this, the kind of power sets in this game is AoEs tend to be, you know, kind of front and centre. Certainly in the powers that I've chosen anyway. I greatly prefer those AoEs, even if they're, you know, quite big power drains, etc. But for obviously being able to help a lot of aggro like this, and obviously stripping the enemy of their health really quickly with DPS, then, you know, anything with a cone effect on it or an AoE is really useful. Because you can fire powers so quickly with no cooldowns. You're only limited by, obviously, your stat bars and how much resources you've got. So magic, stamina, etc. and health. I know some people like to see what first person looks like. So this is first person, and as you're going to see in a second, it is next to impossible to play this game like this. It really is, it's just silly. So here's the big problem I've got. I can't see anything going on around me in this mode as a tank, so I'm really reliant on, well, guesswork basically. It's not viable, it really isn't. You can't play the game in first person mode and excel basically, because you've got no situational awareness of what's going on. It looks awesome, obviously, but I don't know what my team's really doing right now. I've got no clues, so it's much better to be playing it in the sort of standard MMO third person view. Nice of them to include it. It certainly, you know, has its moments when you want to take screenshots and things like that, but I don't know, there just doesn't seem to be any compelling reason to use the first person mode in this game. Certainly not if you want to excel at the game anyway. Certainly I've not met anyone yet who's played through the game exclusively on first person. I just don't think it's possible. You can of course change your field of view, I think. Actually, can you? I think it's actually, there's only an option for draw distance. I haven't seen one for field of view. There might be a tweak you can make in the config for it. I will look for that later, actually. But unfortunately, like I say, the problem you've got is you just have so little situational awareness. Which, you know, I mean, from a role-playing point of view, I'm sure that's going to go down well with people. You know, it makes the game more challenging in many respects. But from a gameplay perspective, nah. Sorry, not viable. those cones. Good. Whoops. Oh, whoops. Hit the wrong button. You press E, you respawn at a sort of respawn point in the dungeon. Press R and you can respawn where you were, and of course where you died. Now, of course, what did they do? They put both buttons next to each other, so invariably you end up just hitting the wrong one when you're not looking. Same problem with your uber power, which is on mapped to R, and E, which is the kind of action key. And obviously the problem you get there is you inadvertently fire your uber power when you actually meant to loot a box. Now you can change that, obviously, you can remap them, but the kind of mapping is good. It's just a shame really that it works quite like that. I will actually at some point have a look at remapping it, but maybe I should use my other number keys or something. Oh god, this is the bit where I got ambushed last time. Alex, if you're still listening, by the way, you do pick up the game today, do feel free to send me a friend invite. I'm on the EU mega server, and obviously I'm Androidizen. And what else was I going to say? There was something, but I've forgotten. I think we're coming close to the final boss at this point. A really nasty rogue likes to stab you in the back if you're not paying attention. Yeah, I think so. Memory serves. Anything else we need to worry about in here? No. Alright, this is going to suck.
There will be no place for rabble like you in RVR's rule Wayrest.
Phew. It's just the nick of time then. I think if she got one more hit on me, I'd have died. Oh, damn, I knew that was coming then. So stupid of me, I should have blocked. I have to see if the guys can finish this off now, but I don't think so. I think it's going to need a reset. Have you woken up, cat? Yes. Good. We'll get her this time. have another go at this. This time I'm going to try and save back some stamina so that each time she tries to hit me with a heavy attack, I've got some stamina to kind of deal with it. So I'm going to be relying mostly on my magic attacks here, I think. And just a bit of taunting, just trying to save everything else. There he goes. Got him. Cat, do you know how kind of inconvenient it is for you to choose exactly this moment to sit on my lap? You're gonna like get us all killed, you know, Cat. You just don't care, do you? Okay. If you could actually see this right now, I've got a cat that's just jumped on my lap and she's wedged herself between my arms and the keyboard. So my agility is somewhat compromised here. Yes, get down. Thank you. Where she gets a little bit more nasty, she starts throwing out quite a bit more damage. So my best bet here, if memory serves, is just to hold my ground and block and let the guys finish her off. And there we go. That is one of the level 20 dungeons, I believe, completed. You see the way the sort of team dynamics of combat work. It's somewhat more straightforward than having 5 players there, but ultimately you have a lot more to kind of focus on and concentrate with as well. It just works really nicely in my opinion. Alright guys, well I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you've enjoyed this look at Elder Scrolls Worldview World and the Dungeons. Do let me know in the comments afterwards if there's anything you'd like to take a look at next time, and do please like and subscribe if you're not already. All the best, and I hope you've enjoyed this look at Elder Scrolls Online today.